Hello everyone, and welcome to our 9th installment in this Excel VBA tutorial series. Today, we're immersing ourselves in a foundational concept in programming that can be a game changer for your VBA projects, the intriguing world of arrays. Arrays are powerful tools, essential when you need to work with multiple related values, but prefer to avoid creating dozens or even hundreds of individual variables. By allowing you to store related values under a single variable name, arrays can greatly simplify your code, enhance readability, and notably speed up your macros by reducing the load on Excel's memory. So, let's delve into this fascinating topic. Let's start with this simple example. Open your VBA editor and paste this code from the video description into a new module. Now let's walk through this together. The first line of this subroutine introduces us to our first array, aptly named myArray. In the parentheses, we indicate that this array will contain 5 elements marked as 1 to 5. We've chosen to store integers in our array, hence the as integer. Following this, we assign values to each slot in our array using the index number. Think of the index as the address of each slot within the array. Thus, myArray 1 corresponds to the first slot, myArray 2 to the second, and so forth. We're filling these slots with multiples of 10, from 10 to 50. The final line showcases how we can retrieve a value from our array. We ask VBA to display a message box containing the value in the third slot of the array, which is 30. When you run this macro, you'll see this value pop up in a message box. However, manually assigning values to each element of the array is somewhat tedious. What if we had an array with 100 elements? This is where loops become incredibly handy. Let's move to our second example, which combines arrays and loops. Before we move forward, let's briefly discuss an important tool in VBA, the immediate window. Also known as the debug window, this feature is a pane that you can view at the bottom of the VBA editor. To open it, simply go to View at the top of the VBA editor and click on Immediate Window, or you can press Ctrl+G. The immediate window serves several functions. It's a place where you can test snippets of code without having to run your entire program. It's also a tool for debugging, hence the name Debug Window. You can use it to inspect or change the value of a variable, call a procedure, or evaluate an expression while your code is running. In this code, we're using the Debug.Print statement to output the values of our array to the immediate window. However, in a real-world application, you might want to output the results in a worksheet instead. To do that, you can simply replace Debug.Print with a line of code that writes the value to a cell in a worksheet. Now that you're familiar with the concept of the immediate window and its functionality, let's turn our attention back to our example code. This next segment will allow us to demonstrate these concepts in action. We begin by declaring our array, as we've learned earlier. Then, we utilize our first loop, which traverses each slot in our array and assigns it a value, specifically the index multiplied by 10 in this instance. Following that, the second loop retrieves these values and prints them out to the immediate window in the VBA editor. This allows us to easily view and validate the contents of our array. Let's now run our code to see how this works. Just press F5 or click the Run button on your VBA editor. As you can see, the values printed in the immediate window are 10, 20, 30, and so forth. These are the results of our loop running through each slot in our array, multiplying the index by 10 and assigning this value to the respective slot. The second loop then reads these values back and prints them in the immediate window. This shows the power of arrays. They allow us to handle multiple related values efficiently. Instead of declaring a separate variable for each of our products, we can handle all of them with a single array. This becomes increasingly useful as your datasets become larger and more complex. But remember, arrays are just one of the many tools in your VBA toolbox. To really master VBA, you need to understand and be able to use all of these tools together. Now I will demonstrate a more practical use case of arrays. Let's assume you have a list of 10 product names in column A of your worksheet. This subroutine reads these product names and stores them into an array, a much more efficient approach compared to creating 10 different variables. In the above code, we're declaring an array products with 10 slots. We then have a loop that goes through the cells in the first column one by one, picking up the product name from each cell and storing it in the respective slot of our products array. The Debug.Print line is there to show that the product names are indeed getting stored in the array. It prints the index number and the corresponding product name to the immediate window. Let's run the code. As you can see, each product is being stored in the array, and also the immediate window is showing us the contents of the array at each step of the loop. This not only confirms that our code is working as expected, but also gives us a clear picture of what's happening at each step. By efficiently handling multiple related values with a single array, we are able to streamline our code and make it much more readable and maintainable. It's an illustration of the power and efficiency of arrays in VBA. We've just scratched the surface of arrays in Excel VBA today. In our next video, titled, How to Use Arrays for Data Manipulation, we'll journey further into this subject. We'll explore multi-dimensional and dynamic arrays, two advanced concepts that can help you manipulate and manage more complex data structures. Until then, I encourage you to practice creating and manipulating your own arrays. All the codes used in this tutorial are in the description below for your convenience. Don't hesitate to leave any questions or share your results in the comments section. Happy coding, and see you in the next video.